search for those two convicts who escaped from a maximum security prison. There is fresh DNA from Richard Matt and David Sweat. It was found in a burglarized cabin just 25 miles from that prison.
The good news is that this discovery reinvigorates a search that had all but gone cold. We're also getting new information on how they got those power tools in the first place. And they were certainly smuggled in, but you'll be surprised to hear how. Let's get to that, beginning our coverage with CNN's Sarah Ganim live in Owl's Head, New York. She's near this cabin where the DNA was found. Let's take that part first. Sarah.
Good morning, Chris. It is yet another day of this search with rain in the forecast. Not great news for those search teams out there, but authorities tell us they are confident that this new lead, this DNA evidence, has them on the right track and will lead them to these two fugitives. Hundreds of state and federal officers redeployed.
This is a confirmed lead for us. We're going to run this to ground.
Flooding this heavily wooded area in upstate New York, over 20 miles from the maximum security prison.
I don't think it would take a real woodsman to get on a power line and follow a power line to, say, an ATV trail.
Authorities converging here after a witness spotted someone running from one of the area's many cabins on Saturday. Investigators finding the DNA of the escapees, Richard Matt and David Sweat, inside the camp, burglarized. Officials worry the fugitives may be a step ahead of the officers if they're monitoring police and radio communications.
It's very rough terrain. It's not easy to get to. It's not easy to traverse.
A restaurant owner says he spoke to the person whose cabin was broken into soon after he made the discovery.
He stressed the point. He says, I'm not saying it's them, but he says, I know somebody broke in our camp and I saw one guy running away.
Officials say there is still no evidence the fugitives have any kind of support network outside of the prison, but they are reviewing months' worth of hotel registries in the area.
If you return to your camp and anything is out of place, call 911 immediately. No lead is too small for us to investigate.
Now, I want to mention that the cell service out here is not great. It's actually pretty spotty, and we heard investigators say yesterday that they are still worried that these two fugitives might be monitoring police radio communications in some way. And last week, when we talked to the district attorney in Clinton County, he did tell us that those two inmates were spotted by other inmates in the prison with cell phones before the breakout, Allison.
That's good new information, Sarah. Thanks so much for that. And there's questions still brewing over how the convicts got those tools they needed to break out of prison, as Sarah said. Some of those details now coming to light, along with who else in the prison may have lent a hand. CNN's Boris Sanchez is in Katyville, New York, with more on that. What do we know this morning, Boris?
Good morning, Allison. We're here at a command post about 5 miles from the Clinton Correctional Facility, and we're learning that investigators are looking at whether or not these inmates got tools into their cells through a frozen pack of hamburger meat. Officials looking at whether or not Joyce Mitchell may have convinced a guard to pass that meat through without going through a metal detector. That is a violation of prison policy. Keep in mind, because these men were on the honor block, they were allowed to cook for themselves, so it wouldn't have been out of place for them to have food inside their cells. As Sarah mentioned, we know detectives are also looking at hotel registries across the area, trying to see if anyone who knows these men may have stayed nearby within the past 6 to 8 months. Meantime, Gene Palmer, a CO at the prison, was questioned by investigators for about 14 hours this weekend. He has not been charged, though. He's still on administrative leave. His attorney says he knew nothing about the plan to escape. Chris?
All right, thank you very much.